Good afternoon. My name is Carrie Howard, and this is my video observation journal for EDU 675. In this video observation journal, we're going to be discussing functional behavior assessments. We're going to be discussing a little bit of a student that I plan on assessing, and also talking about my plan for interviewing an SLP or a speech language pathologist. So first of all, the student that I plan to assess is a student that his behaviors aren't super aggressive behaviors, but they can be taken very in a bad way because he's putting his hands or face on people that in an inappropriate way. He doesn't understand, like he's not doing it to be inappropriate, but it could be taken that way, and it does cause him problems because other students don't like it. And he's only in the first grade right now, but next year he is going to be going into gen ed for more of his day, and I want him to have a successful gen ed experience next year. So we're going to be talking a little bit about this student in particular, but also about how you go about conducting a functional behavior assessment. So first you need to determine what your target behavior is and clearly define that behavior. So an example for this student in particular is putting his nose on people up close, or he goes up to people and squeezes their arms really tight because he wants that sensory input, and he's putting his nose on people. He also gets very excited and he starts clapping his hands, which could sometimes hit other students that are in close proximity to him. And sometimes he can very aggressively flap because of his excitement. He's not trying to hit other students intentionally, but he's kind of unaware of what he's doing. He also will get out of his seat and jump up and down. These behaviors can be disruptive in a gen ed classroom. And so I want him to have a positive outcome. So first we need to target that specific behavior. If we want these behaviors to reduce, we want to just target those specific behaviors and define it. So an example is the hand flapping and jumping up and down, which can occur together. So if he engages in this behavior and then stops and then begins it again, there would be an interval between finishing and beginning again. So you want to really clearly define that behavior of exactly what you're going to be targeting. So before the team can determine any appropriate evidence-based practices or interventions to address this behavior, first you want to observe the behavior and over a period of time. You want enough time to really get a clear idea of what the function of this behavior is. Why is a student engaging in this behavior? What is the need? And every behavior has a function. Every behavior has, and by function, we mean a reason. There's a reason this behavior is occurring. It's fulfilling a need the student has. And so it could be a sensory need. It could be a communication need. And so that is what the team will try to determine. And then you start to collect your baseline data. So you just want a starting point. You want to gauge, okay, how many times is this behavior occurring? How often, the frequency, the duration, what time of the day? In the morning, is it occurring more in the morning or in the afternoon? And there's lots of different types of data sheets and collection methods to collect this type of data. So for example, this particular student is, well, he sometimes does have aggressive behavior. It's very rare, but he does sometimes hit. He has, but this hitting isn't happening enough it's pretty rare, only a couple times in the school year. So it's not enough to really be a problem for him. But if that behavior did start to occur more frequently, then we would need to conduct a functional behavior assessment on that behavior. So depending on the behavior is is going to determine how you collect data on it. So you might need to do like scatter plot data. Scatter plot data is great for determining what time of the day the behavior is occurring or the frequency of the behavior by doing tally marks. You can also collect data using ABC. Collection methods, ABC stands for antecedent behavior consequence. So what happens right before the behavior, what the behavior is, and then the consequence. And consequence doesn't necessarily mean that the student's getting in trouble. Consequence just means after that behavior occurs, what happens? Like, what is the result? So some other methods that you want to employ when you're doing a functional behavior assessment is review of records. How long, can you go into his IEP, or can you talk to family members or caregivers or staff members to find out when this behavior is occurring, how long it's been occurring. So you can do interviews on top of data collection methods. And then after a time, you have your baseline, and that's your starting point. So you probably would average that out. Okay, this behavior is occurring at frequency rate at average of 30 times a day. For example, it could be 15 or 10. It just depends. At that point, you're going to create a behavior intervention plan based on your observations. And it's important to review the progress that the student's making on this plan frequently, because we might, as a team, decide or determine, oh, this behavior is occurring, we think, because it's a sensory need. And maybe it's not a sensory need. Maybe there's some other function of this behavior. And maybe the evidence-based practice that the team determines isn't being effective. So maybe we need to find another evidence-based practice. So it's going to be important that we monitor the progress of any plan that we put into place. Some ideas or examples of what a function of behavior might be, it could be for attention. It could be that the student's trying to escape or avoid a task. It could be that there's a sensory need. So the flapping of the hands could automatically fulfill or automatically reinforce the student because that's the input that he needs. It could be a tangible, because they want to gain access to a toy or something. So, and here's some potential behavior procedures that you could use: functional communication training, extinction, differential reinforcement, stimulus control, response interruption, redirection, for different types of functions. So if you think, oh, he could be hand flapping for a sensory need, so we could try to maybe implement something. I would say for this student, what I would like to do is try to find a replacement behavior that is more appropriate and can fulfill his need for that sensory input in not such an obvious or distracting way that's going to cause him problems in the gen ed classroom. So maybe he needs a sensory toy where he's still getting that squeezing or that flapping, or he can get that excitement out, but maybe in a different way that is more appropriate at his desk. Or maybe it could be a wobble seat, so he's getting wiggles out because he gets so excited he could wiggle his body in a seat instead of getting out of seat and jumping up and down. Just some examples of some strategies that we might implement. Or maybe he needs a break or something, so we teach him how to communicate his needs. So that would be the functional communication training. So we could teach him how to say, hey, I need a break, and maybe you have a little access to a trampoline or something. He can go and jump on the trampoline instead of jumping in his seat. So just some ideas there. Last, I just want to mention my SLP interview plan. So in fact, tomorrow I have scheduled with the SLP at the school that I work at. We have a meeting planned for tomorrow during my lunch break. I'm gonna interview the SLP at our school. I'm going to compile my 5 questions. I really want to ask her questions about her assessment procedures and things like that. And I'm pretty excited. We have a really great SLP at our school. She's very thorough and we collaborate a lot all the time with each other. So that's my plan for interviewing the SLP. So I will set up the meeting by just sitting down with her and just starting off with some questions, and then maybe I'll think of some questions as we go. And if I need to touch base with her or ask her any further questions that come up throughout the week, we usually chat on the phone or in person. So that's how I plan on doing that. Well, thank you for listening to me. And that's about all I have right now for my video journal. And I look forward to completing the functional behavior assessment for my student and helping them to be successful in the gen ed environment. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.